North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un is now killing extended family members, including children. And the Grammy Awards launched its own assault on children, an assault of the mind, in a widespread propaganda move in support of those who are against the Christian family unit. And Russia, they're getting it right. We'll talk about it. This is the voice of resistance.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Well, if I was serving as an ambassador for the North Korean dictator, I wouldn't go home if I was recalled. The press is now reporting that Kim Jong-un is not content with having shed the blood of his uncle by feeding him and his associates to the dogs, literally. He is now killing every family member related to the uncle. They literally recalled ambassadors, one from Cuba, and when they came home, they were killed. They are killing wives. They are killing children. Just so you grasp the horrific nature of this, remember that even the mafia doesn't kill children. You have to really search through history to find tyrants that are so demonic that they kill children. Vladimir Lenin, the founder of the Soviet Republic, he ordered Nicholas II and the entire Tsarist family to be killed, including girls and a boy. They were all shot and bayoneted in cold blood in the basement of the palace, if my memory serves me correctly. Athaliah, the mother of one of the kings of Judah, when her son died, she had all of the royal family murdered, took the throne for 6 years. A priest in Solomon's temple hid Joash for 6 years and finally anointed him as king, and they executed Athaliah. She was a wicked, evil woman. Herod, he killed family members, Herod the Great, but it's just not that common. It's barbaric. And the reason I bring this up is because it has to cause even greater concern to our State Department. If you do some research on this lunatic, people are asking, why haven't we killed him? Why is this man still cursing the earth by breathing its air? Well, that's a discussion for another day, but right now it's against the law under U.S. law to assassinate foreign leaders. But anyway, if a man is willing to bring about a reign of terror and to literally kill extended family members, including children, the State Department has to be very concerned, because the question naturally is, well, what will this man do? If he's this unstable, if he's this uncertain of his own grip on power, there's nothing like a war to consolidate power. This comes out of many playbooks in history. A common enemy produces unity on the home front. Look at the brief moments of unity that America experienced after the tragic attacks of 9/11. There was more grace and kindness and unity among people, the lack of bipartisanship on Capitol Hill, people getting along in their hometowns. It was the direct result of us having a common enemy. When Churchill was brought to power to fight the Nazis, the British literally did away with a party system. They didn't do it, there were still parties, but they had a unified government. The government had members from all parties in it because of a common enemy. Even in the scriptures we see that when the Jews were attacked, the 12 tribes, who often had quarreling amongst them, the Bible says, they rose as one man. The existence of a common threat to Israel brought the 12 quarreling, bickering tribes together, and then they stood as one. Kim Jong-un is a demonic tyrant. He is a lunatic. probably has a legion of demons with him. And the State Department has to be really concerned about what this man will do in order to maintain his power and to bring about any semblance of unity at the highest levels of government. The fear that he is enduring, of course, is that he will be deposed, that there will be some type of a coup taking power away from him. And his acts, his brutal acts of murder against his uncle and now extended family members, this is designed as an act of terror against the living. Always remember that terrorism's prime target is not the dead, but the living, because it alters people's behavior. So he's letting people know, not only will I feed you to the dogs if you try and take me out of power, but I will see to it that your wife and your children are murdered as well. We've got our hands full with this demonic dictator. We'll keep you updated. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. This is not like some passages out of the scriptures and like some stories out of history. This is not a child-friendly segment. So if you have small children in the room, I suggest you tell them to leave. And as you know, there are passages of the scriptures that are very explicit, very troubling, and well, we have small children. We don't read those passages to our kids. They're not ready yet for them. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but in Jewish tradition, young men and women were not allowed to read the Song of Solomon until they were at least 20 or until they were married. So what I'm doing is not without precedent for those of you that are concerned. The viewers of the Grammy Awards were assaulted by a brilliant, and I say that with quotes in the way that some evil things can be brilliant, wisdom that is from below, sensual, evil. The viewers of the Grammy Awards were assaulted by a brilliant choreographed display of an assault on marriage, an assault on what God intended for men and women, the promotion of sodomy. It was a moment that I'm certain that the leaders of Sodom and Gomorrah would have loved to have had, if only they had the technology. Macklemore is the name of the performer that we're about to show you the clip. In case you didn't hear the news, Queen Latifah, as she is called, the pop entertainer, she officiated over 33 so-called unions, most of them between people of opposite gender. Live on national television, exchanged rings, the whole 9 yards. But before that happened, the artist Macklemore sang his song, Same Love, and in it, he shared these words.
The right-wing conservatives think it's a decision, and you can be cured with some treatment and religion. Man-made rewiring of a predisposition, playing God. Now here we go. America the brave still fears what we don't know. God loves all his children is somehow forgotten, but we paraphrase a book written 3,500 years ago.
Now, for those of you who could not understand all the words, let me read them to you. The right-wing conservatives think it's a decision, and you can be cured with some treatment and religion, man-made, rewiring of a predisposition, playing God. Here we go. America the brave still fears what we don't know, and God loves all his children is somehow forgotten. But we paraphrase a book written 3,500 years ago. Do you hear what he's doing? This is actually worse than the free love movement of the 60s. And the reason is the free love movement of the 60s was hedonistic. It was self-proclaimed hedonistic, anti-religious. They said we either don't believe in God or God's standards are thrown to the wind, but mostly it was in-your-face, anti-Christian. These people, and I'm going to quote to you from the end of the song when they did the little vamp, the female singer was singing, "Love is patient, love is kind, love is patient, not crying on Sundays." Lane, play just one little clip from that.
Not crying on Sunday, not crying on Sunday, not crying on Sunday, not crying on Sunday, you turn the key.
So there you see it. Love is patient, love is kind, not crying on Sundays. In other words, I feel guilty for sins that I've committed or temptations that I'm having, and it makes me cry on Sundays. So what they've done is quote the scriptures. Love is patient, love is kind. He says we're all God's children. We've forgotten that we're all God's children, and we're paraphrasing a book written 3,500 years ago. He's talking about the Old Testament. He's talking about the law of God, where God condemns the sexual union of two people of the same gender. Okay? So there's a genius to this, because what he's trying to say is, look, I want to go to church. I want to believe in God. God made me this way. Love is patient. Love is kind. I don't want to cry on Sundays. We all have to just embrace each other. Goes back to Rob Bell, the evangelical who said the train has left the station. We have to affirm people. We have to just take them where they're at. So here's the simple question we have to ask. Is what Macklemore is saying true? Is it true? In other words, are we just paraphrasing something that's 3,500 years old? Did God make people this way? Is it true? And I don't want to hear you say, well, it's true for them. I'm not interested in relativism, okay? Is it true? Or is what he is saying a lie? Is it false? I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to tie this in with the Sochi games or Sochi games in Russia, where the Russians are saying, you can come if you're homosexual, not a problem. But we don't want you promoting your lifestyle. We don't want you reaching out to our children. And friend, that is what this is all about. Recruitment of our sons and our daughters. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. If you have someone in your family that is gay, and many of us do, this is not an easy topic to discuss. My late son, who died in a head-on collision, came out as being a homosexual, and it caused enormous grief and heartache in our family. It put, as you can imagine, an enormous strain on our relationship. And the strain, though it was getting a lot lighter before he died, the strain existed because I would not throw Christian ethics under the bus. I wasn't willing to throw him under the bus, but I was also not willing to say to him, son, Jameel, I love you and I'm going to support you in your decision. I love you, and if this makes you happy, then I'm going to support you in it. I couldn't do it because we are commanded to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and we're commanded to love our neighbor as ourselves. and love works no evil towards its neighbor. Let love be without hypocrisy, Paul wrote. Cling to that which is good. Hate that which is evil. It's Romans chapter 12:9 for those of you who are looking for a Bible verse. If you listen to the words, in fact, I want to play a clip from that song again. This little hook was sung by Mary Lambert. Listen to what she said.
Can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love.
You hear that? I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. I submit to you that those words are a frontal assault on the gospel. All right? Feelings, or if I can mix and match a little bit, temptations are a part of our human existence. All right? Most, if not all of us, are tempted. Most, if not all of us, have feelings of hatred, wishing someone ill, sexual temptation, temptation to steal, or the temptation to covet, or the temptation to be jealous, or the temptation to spread false witness or rumors, or the temptation to destroy someone else's reputation so that we look better, or the temptation to fill in the blank. Fill in the blank with what tempts you, and you keep circling back to, okay? We're all cut from the cloth of Adam and Eve, and the sin problem plagues all of us. That's not the issue. The issue is that the gospel can change us, all right? We can be redeemed. We can have a new heart. And yes, we will still struggle, but by the power of God's grace, by repeated acts of our will, we can change. I mean, all of us have heard for years, and some of us have had the testimonies of a changed life because of the gospel. So what they are saying is like a double barrel offense against God and Christianity. On one hand, they're saying, God made me this way and he wants you all to accept me. And the other hand, they're saying the gospel doesn't have the power to change me. So we who have family members, or those of us who don't, and we're looking at all this unfold around us and wondering, what are we going to do? What do we have to do? The loving thing to do, the charitable thing to do, is to graciously, politely, with love and tender mercy in our hearts and voices, say to them, this is a self-destructive lifestyle. This is expressly forbidden by our Maker. Just like stealing is, and just like adultery is, just like bearing false witness is, just like we're commanded to honor our father and our mother, just like God says, don't covet. These are things that don't change. And some say, well, there are many people in the Bible who did wicked things. Well, go look at what King David did. Yes, and what did King David say? He said, I have sinned. He said, my moisture is dried up like the drought of summer. He said that it separated him from God, and he said, God, forgive me, I have sinned. And he was forgiven and he was restored. What he didn't say was, God made me this way. You have to accept that I want to commit adultery. You have to understand that that was a book that was written a long time ago, and we've just paraphrased it, and times are changing, and the bus has left the station, and you should all just accept me for who I am, and I want to be happy, and this is the lifestyle I've chosen. Please support me in what I'm doing. No. He said, I have sinned. We're going to come back, and we're going to look at the recruitment of children and the laws in Russia. You have to be troubled when Russia's got it closer to right than we do. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. The Russians have a law that is hated by the militant homosexual community of our country and other countries, specifically stating that you cannot propagate the homosexual practice, okay? You can't talk about it with kids. Now this enrages the homosexuals, and they say this is discrimination. And then they'll talk about Martin Luther King and how he was such a great hero for civil rights. Let's just stop right there for 1 minute. Our kids are taught that Martin Luther King was a hero, right? We have Martin Luther King Day. Are we going to someday have Madonna Day? Are we going to have to teach our children? This is a protected class of people. And so just imagine, and again, this is not appropriate for small children. We don't even talk about these things with our own children because they're not ready. I'm going to get to that in a minute. It's called sexual confusion, all right? Anyway, imagine a day when, if the homosexuals get what they want, well, if you speak against black people, you're a racist. And you have to go through training. You have to learn tolerance. And they literally will reprogram some people, all right? Banish them and give them sensitivity training, make them go to classes, etc., okay? Imagine the day when they get what they want. They're a protected class, right? And now we're going to teach 2nd graders and 4th graders. We're going to have Madonna Day. And we're going to talk about how bad it was when people of the same sex couldn't get married. And then imagine your 2nd grader coming home saying, we learned about homosexual marriage today. Your 4th grader, Mommy, why did people used to persecute the homosexuals, the gays? They just love each other and they just want to... Now, you see, you have to then broach what? Sexuality. In other words, the defining act is the sexual act. That's the defining act, okay? Not the feelings, not the temptations. I might be tempted to steal, but the defining act that makes me a thief is taking somebody else's property, all right? So what they want is access to kids. That's why they hate what the Russians are doing. In that song that Montgomery sang at the Academy Awards, he said, when I was in the 3rd grade, I thought that I was gay because I could draw, my uncle was, and I kept my room straight. Now, wait a minute, my uncle was? How did he know his uncle was gay? What did his uncle say to him? What did his uncle do? What words of encouragement did his uncle give him? You see, as human beings, think back into your own childhood when you learned about human sexuality. And then there was the curiosity factor. And then there was dealing with hormones changing. And some people went into experimentation. Some people from experimentation go into ongoing behavior. Some people go into addictions. Do you understand the path? They want access to children because they want to recruit them. It's about 1 in 10, you know, that recruitment program where they want access to kids in junior high school and in high school to say that 1 in 10 of you are gay. That's simply not true. But if you expose a child long enough to sexually stimulating things, some of them are going to become curious. Some of them are going to be experimenting. Some of them are going to have sexual confusion, and some of them are going to become addicted. And then they're going to say, God made me this way, and you have to accept me. The Russians have it right. We don't evangelize our children into the homosexual lifestyle.